Hi guys, I'm gonna do a reading. I was just doing a quick little meditation and asking like, who I should do the reading on, and I felt like the answer was do a reading on on California. I mean, if you think of the Earth as a person. California is part of that, and then like each city has its own kind of agreement with people as to like what the vibe's going to be like. Like cities have a birthday and states have a birthday. I mean, they have history before that, obviously, but you could think of, like, for instance, Paris's astrological sign is Virgo, and maybe that explains why I like Paris so much, because I'm a Virgo too. I don't know what the astrological sign of California is. Just trying to think what I think the vibe, like what sign I would give it. I mean, either Leo or Libra. But then it has this kind of go-getter thing too, but it's chill. I don't know, it's like, it's got a bunch of different, but in general, it's like super mellow. But then it has this healing quality, that I would say like some people have trampled on. It's kind of like if you have like a generous relative, like an aunt or a grandma or something, and you're just asking too much of them and they don't complain and they just give. And it's just beautiful. Sorry, this like my dog is making noises in the background. You can kind of like wear out that person, their generosity, and I think it's important to remember, like, not to overdo it. I think some people take stuff too far in California. And also they don't really like, I mean, this is personal opinion, I don't feel like the entertainment industry really gets like, well, the fact that there's like the word industry in it is a good indication, like, of, like creativity. Similarly, like if you're building something, it shouldn't like overwhelm or destroy the thing that you're creating upon or whatever. And it's sort of sad that I just don't like the star system for me doesn't work. Like it's like, oh, you did a good project, let's do that same thing again. That doesn't leave open to like the moment another kind of wild card of creativity, or it's like, really, how many times can you see the same face without just going like, what? Like, there's a lot of people that want to act that don't get an opportunity because like are getting the same mug like over and over again. I also don't get how, like, at awards shows and stuff, like, this is just me rambling while I'm shuffling the cards, but how like famous designers, like, they'll like make a dress or whatever wherever they live at their workshop, and then they'll kind of like try to put like a square peg in a round hole by like forcing it upon some actor or actress. It's just like, it just doesn't seem like what the person would wear, or like, I mean, just because you got to wear it for free, like, you know, some people do stuff for money that like they wouldn't normally do. And I think one of them would be like wearing like sort of question mark fashion, something like that. You know, nothing against the artists that create the stuff that are told, like, you know, who are very skilled at couture. Oh my god. What are you barking at? But they're told what to make, you know, like, and I don't know. I'm all for custom fashion, like, like, some stuff. There's a rehaul necessary in California, especially like that major industry. There's other stuff obviously going on in California that has nothing to do with shows and movies. Okay. I mean, when I go there, which isn't that often, but you know, been there a bunch of times since the 80s. Can I say early 70s too? First time I think I was like 14 or something. And yeah, I was with my cousin, my Baldwin cousins, and we they took me. I lived in San Diego, and we, as a family, we went to Disneyland, and it was like an American Vacation where you can just park right in front and walk in. Like, it was just a big parking lot. Now it's different. But like little has changed. Like I went like 20 years ago to Disneyland again with my 3 kids, and so sort of nothing much has changed there. It's just kind of cute. Okay. Yeah, so there's this like, I also like personally like kind of have a crush on California. Like, I live in Canada, but and I wrote a song about it a long time ago. But yeah, so it's the stuff I appreciate about it is like the landscape. Okay, let's keep shuffling until he decides to play it. Okay. Okay, what are you talking about? Come here. He's just playing with the cat. I wonder if there's something I can. Hey, buddy. What about this? What about this? Yeah, I mean, it's, if you like imagine photoshopping out all the buildings and like as it was before people made any structures there, like, oh my gosh, what a beautiful area. You know, it's kind of like perfect weather, like this gentle landscape, like these emerald hills, and then the Pacific, which, you know, I'm on the more Atlantic side, being in Montreal, and I used to live in Halifax for like 5 years. So I'm like used to the Atlantic, which is always just like knocking at your door, like, hey, I'm cold, like, let me in. And you know, come in and have some brain freeze or like get stung by a jellyfish and have a good day. And the Pacific is more just like this misty, deep, warm bath. Like, it's totally different. Totally different personality. So yeah, just that mellowness. I don't really think it's like mellow people that make California mellow. I think California makes people mellow Because if you take a Californian and they put them in Milwaukee in the winter, they're probably not going to be too mellow. All right, do I have all what I want to have here? So we got, I pulled something from, yeah, everything. Okay. I'll begin. So we're going to think about California as like a consciousness, as a celebrity in itself. I mean, because if you think of all these people like running into California, it's like they're riding on the coattails of California. Like it's like beauty and power and all that, you know, its reputation, all that stuff. Okay, so here we go. So we have Layla as the first card. By the way, if people are in the live chat asking for personal messages, I'm just doing this reading on California right now. I'm going to figure out what day of the week I want to do like a live, I'll answer your questions thing, but I'll just probably do it once a week. Partly because, like, you know, I love my regular watchers, subscribers and stuff, but it's like I want you to use that advice for that week. Because sometimes, like, you guys will check in the next day and go, like, but is he going to call me today? You know, like, and it's like, it's nicer if that message that comes through has a chance to kind of like, you know, live a life. Anyway, so we have, okay, this card, Layla. Just a second. Okay. Wait, this one sec. I need to get by. Oh, I've got the camera hidden. Go ahead. Want to go ahead? Okay. All right, no problem. Sorry, my camera's like in a place in my apartment where no one can walk by without being seen. So I'll try to make it quick. All right. So Layla. Yeah, I feel like, okay, you see how there's this like rose on her arm? Like California is like as beautiful as it could make itself to be appreciated, to appreciate itself, and to be connected with the universe and to reflect back like ultimate kind of beauty. And then people are just kind of like throwing garbage on top of it. I feel like we really need to like restructure how our civic architecture. We need to do a redo and do more proper city planning and things like that, so that the percentage of wild land is like greater than what we're touching. And that might mean having like taller buildings or like buildings that are made, you know, with ecological things in mind. So that, you know how they say like COVID and stuff came about, you know, and other big diseases and stuff, other pandemics happen because like we've infringed on nature too much and made like one grouping of animals become more susceptible to disease or whatever, like rats or, you know, that's, you know, so in order for California to survive us, I kind of feel like spiritually it's gonna survive, but it's like, which way do you want it? Like, do you want to play nice, or do you want nature to like kick you in the ass? You know. So I think we should play nice, and that would mean probably some form of like strong legislation in California where there's like a mandate to remove single family homes. Sorry to say this, but like and make these more ecological multi-dwelling structures that then leave space for nature to thrive and survive. Okay. Ooh, so 21st century, loving it. So it's going to be like politicians having to play hardball with neighborhood committees and things like that. But it's like we live on nature. Like it's we can't just like take over nature and just go like, oh, why isn't everything so beautiful now? It's like because we're just not leaving any nature space. Like, like so. Something's got to give there, right? So then we have beyond death, life. Yeah, I feel like the spiritual, the higher beings and people, beings like watching us and seeing how we're doing and stuff. They're kind of like they've got like kind of the master plan. Like there is no time where they can see and like they can sort of see how it all plays out, and it's like everything in terms of Earth like will be fine. But it's like how do you want to play it? Like do you want nature to play hardball with you? Or are you willing right now to this is I guess what they I'm not like really up on politics and stuff, but or like what was written in the Paris Agreement or all that stuff. But you could say that word on the street is, things are not great and there's like global warming or whatever you want to call it. Sort of drastic weather and things like that for whatever reason. Sorry, what? Okay. And anyway, so if we don't make changes like nowish, like between now and 5 years, like radical changes in terms of leaving more space for sorry. Wait a second, I'm gonna have to check the dog. You can pass that. I have it covered. You can pass. I have it covered. Go ahead. Go. All right. So sorry about that. Right. Yeah, because like in spiritual terms, you're a soul that's like endless, whatever. Like it, like never dies is what I'm trying to say, and it's kind of like no biggie how you want to play your life out, and spiritually speaking, and it's like you want to thrive, you want to die, like it's like it's kind of like it's your chess move kind of thing. But you'll always be this spirit, this particle of like kind of light that is when we're all together we create, we're like all one, part of the creator and stuff like that. One consciousness. So yeah. So it's kind of like it's not like the pressure's on, like it's not like the spiritual world's like you're so stupid, like they're not saying that. It's more like wouldn't it be cool if you were to like connect with your intuition and like kind of do the right thing, which might be against like the status quo, like it's like, oh, we've had this house for 200 years. It's like, yeah, but like the earth is crying out for help right now. How do you, what are you leaving your 7 generations from now, even 1 generation from now? How, do they have to trip over like McDonald's garbage to get to the beach, or what? Like, at what point is like being stupid like enough? Like when is something that doesn't work? When is it played out? Like, what? It's like being in a toxic relationship. It's like, are you gonna get a divorce or what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to divorce the stupid habits and plans. My eyes look like really swollen today. I don't know. I can't blame it on cheese because I haven't had any. I just have swollen eyes. Okay. Maybe if I go outside in the freezing cold, it'll like not be like that. Okay. The next card is, I'm actually like, first I was like, how can a celebrity reading be like California? But now it's making so much sense and I'm really into it. All right. So the next card is, I want to feel good. Today, no matter where I'm going, no matter what I'm doing, no matter who I am doing it with, it's my dominant intention to see that which I'm wanting to see. Yeah, so like you kind of have to have a vision. It's like imagine you're like the people that made the movie Tron, right? It's like they didn't have the greatest technology to work with, right? It was like the very first and digitally animated movies, I think. Anyway, feature, I'm gonna say. And it's like charmingly just awkward, and bravo to the people that made the sequel, which I thought was such a loving gesture towards the first one and made the first one make more sense to me. Like, as when Tron first came out, I was like, okay, what? Because I don't play video games, and so I didn't have like that. I wasn't into math, so like just even a graph was like, I don't know, like, but it made more sense to me after watching the second one. Anyway, so totally, let's get back to that idea. Right. Yeah. So focus. They focused on it's like we don't have all the tools, but doggone it, we're gonna make this like digitally animated, computer animated feature, and like I don't care what the critics say, it's on, kind of thing. And so it's like this kind of focus that we need now in order to like protect the environment. And I'm not banging on a drum here. I'm not holding up a sign saying you suck or something. I'm just talking about like it's just facts. Like, the earth is suffering. Check. There's garbage everywhere. Check. Like, people have their houses spread out so there's no parkland. Check. Like, this is all like just true. And it's like, well, are we just gonna carry on? And like I said, it's like being in a toxic marriage or something. It's like you're just gonna like keep living with that person who thinks it's normal to behave badly and disrespect family members and not clean up after themselves and stuff. We're kind of like that bully living in the house that is earth, just being a mess and like being like a hoarder, and like it's like we just got to get in there and fix it. Like, what's the alternative? More disease from overcrowding and pushing out the ecology, like worse weather, erosion from not letting like trees be there instead of like houses and whatever. It's not, you don't have to be a freaking genius to see like why it's not working out as it is. So we kind of have to embrace this idea of restructuring how we live, like the actual buildings we live in, changing it up and like reclaiming what are now residential areas for parkland and stuff. just deal with it. And that's what California is sort of asking for. I feel like when I'm doing this reading, don't eat that card. Oh yeah. So the Ten of Pentacles like just fell off the table. So I'm gonna say like this is what California is saying like we could have if could have it all. Like it's easy to like if we were brave enough to kind of switch it up, like divorce our kind of bad mentality and go like I'm gonna have my glow up, and that means not being so materialistic, finding like cool new rules for how we live and stuff that embraces nature, and instead of everybody having like, what it's like in France, in the country, right? You're like driving around and there's like fields of farmland and there's no houses on them. They're just like, you can see the dividing lines and whatever, but it's just like a few miles of just fields. And then you get to a village and everyone's living like crammed together. No one really has much backyard, and it's like row houses in the country. So people live like in a tight little village, and then there's just like land. And that would be kind of like a good model, I think, so that like, if you wanted to go to the, okay, just one second. Okay. If you wanted to go to like see nature, instead of just hanging out in your little square backyard, there's a huge nature preserve like in downtown Los Angeles, like going all the way to the beach, like a whole green belt, like that used to be houses, but now there's these like very functional living quarters that have like a good community amenities in them, and people are talking more, and it's like there's a way to make it work, right? So there's some restructuring to do, and that's where this sort of death card comes in. It's like, calling an end, sort of harvesting like these bad ideas, these bad habits, and calling an end to that for transformation. You get kind of chills when I say that. Okay. I'm really into this reading. I'm glad I listened to my guides. Okay. As you write, expanded awareness. My awareness is expanding with abundance. An abundance of clarity. I wish my brain could do that right now. Okay. Okay, as you write. This is like a really cool looking crystal. It'd be kind of nice to look at that in person. Yeah, so we need to expand our awareness. Like we can't just go like, I see what I see, like my house is there, I'm not going to get rid of my house. Like we need to expand our awareness beyond what is today, like March, whatever it is, 2021, and expand our awareness, past, present, future. Where are we going? Where are we taking this? Like, are we just going to run this ship aground and not care and like party and like drop tabs on the cruise boat and like just smash into the, like, you know what I mean? Like we have to consciously like have an idea of where we're going, it's cuter like that. It's kind of like Disneyland. It's like, I don't know what was there before, like maybe a little orange grove or an almond farm or something. And then, then Walt Disney's kind of like, I have a vision for something, and have a vision of a joyful experience that's like, through like sort of sort of slightly frightening riddles and tales of sort of childhood drama and candy and ice cream and whatever. Um, like that was a vision and people are like into it to some degree. Like I've been there twice and I don't even live in California. So, I think it's possible to make California like this sort of destination. Like you could say like a lot of the newer cities that were built in uh, forgive my lack of like knowledge of what each individual country is called, but like the Saudi Arabia kind of area, like Dubai and like places like that, or like they're relatively new cities, and they're sort of playing with ideas of like, okay, let's make this group of islands that were man-made, or like let's make this like flower-shaped residential area, or like this super tall tower kind of thing. And it's like it's all well and good to do like individual little projects, but it'd be like really cool to make like an overall vision of a city. Like Paris, I guess there was like the Great Fire. I don't know, I'm like really not a historian, but from my like weak understanding of Paris history, like there was a big fire and then they had to rebuild, and so Houseman like made like a master plan for the city, and like people love Paris because it's like beautiful, and maybe it has something to do with like the overall unity and vision of the city that kind of works, and it's not just like sprawl construction. Like there were squares and like sort of meeting points and like kind of like spokes of a wheel. Like there was a way that it made sense in terms of socialization, rather than just like here's my square house, here's your square house kind of thing, and it just goes on and on. Like how what is that city called? It's like noon, but in my brain it's like too early. Okay, there's Montpellier, and then I'll think of it in a second. I can't believe I can't remember. Oh, Marseille. All right. So like Marseille, like the harbor, the old part of the town is like super cool and kind of makes sense in terms of people and like just like the train station is built like in the most beautiful place with an incredible view, and like it was all kind of thought out well. But then like the sprawl came, I guess maybe I don't know when it happened. Like I don't know if it happened when they made the TGV attached to Paris and you could get there like super fast. But anyway, it's just like when you fly over it, you can just see it's like sprawl, 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 like no parks. And you just can't like be doing that stuff. Like it's not sustainable. It creates violence because people are not meeting in like squares, and you know what I mean. Like all that kind of social architecture stuff is necessary, and green space is necessary. Okay. Okay, shush, honey. Quiet. So we need to expand our awareness beyond like our own little world that we created and understand like, well, how do we mesh with the world, which is like an entity, like a person, is trying their best to be beautiful every day. But it's like if you're throwing garbage on my arm, it's like you gotta do your part to like let me be beautiful. You know what I mean? I don't know why I needed to do so much hand gesturing there, but whatever. Detach from drama. Yeah, like in order for people to accept these important changes we need to do, like architecturally and city planning wise, to allow like more green belts and stuff, we have to detach from being like emotionally upset that like something's changing. You know what I mean? Like it would be like if let's say you were like 550 pounds and everyone's like, don't lose weight, like don't, it's like, well, I'd like to become healthier if I can, or like let me change. And it's like the rest of the world's like, no, like we need everything to stay exactly as it is. And I mean, you could say like 2020, we were kind of forced into this major shakeup. I don't think that kind of shakeup vibe is gonna disappear anytime soon. And so we may as well be heading like in a proper direction. And like for people who like, I hate government, I hate, but it's like if you think of we're all like driving in that family car and there's one person driving instead of like five people driving, fighting like with five people having a wheel in the car. You know what I mean? Like it's good to come up with like a plan, and because we are all one, we're all one consciousness really. It's like, why can't we just get along? And intuition plays a huge role in that. Like if you don't have your intuition like working, getting it working will be a source of peace and like mutual understanding, because like you get these downloads of logic that are like, it's like you're handed a messed up Rubik's cube, but then when you get like a really good intuition, it's like you seeing like it's all solved, and it's like each side is one color, and you're like, oh, okay. Like just like for me doing this, deciding to do this reading this morning, I was like, oh, what person should I do the reading on? My guides are like, do it on California, and I'm like, I know better than to go against my intuition, so I'm like, okay, like you know and you kind of have to detach from your ego to go like, I trust that that is a good idea, because it came intuitively. There's a certain amount of detachment from ego and control that you have to do in order to work with your intuition, but the intuition is like the fast road to success. So maybe it's not something like everyone's doing. Certainly like a lot of people are whatever doing things to be more spiritual, yoga, meditate, whatever they do, I don't know. But instead of like reading 5,000 books on city planning and stuff, I would argue that like 30 minutes spent meditating and just getting, if you can, like clear visions of what you feel like the universe is trying to tell you, like that's like a pretty quick road to agreement. Okay. Um right. Then we, okay, what is this? All right. I gotta put my glasses on to see what I like about this car or whatever. Yeah, I mean, everyone's gonna be like of two minds about it. It's like, well, I like how things are, but I know I want to live in this other world too. But if you think about like back when people were living during like World War I and II, it's like this is our life, but we're dreaming of another life. I mean, you could argue that the better life was worth jumping to, and maybe people had to like chill the F out and like stop fighting in order for that to be achieved. Like the changes had to be made, rebuilding had to be done, and you know, we have to embrace like this other reality and go like, I'm good there too. I'm brave enough to like leave behind what doesn't serve me and everybody else in the long run, instead of just being selfishly like, well, I'm gonna like drive in my Dodge Charger at top speed and throw like fast food containers out the window just because and listen to Bon Jovi just because I feel like it. Like, everybody can't be doing that and have the world be like awesome. I'm not answering personal questions in this reading, but thank you for writing a comment. If you want to contact me through my website, I can help you out. And I will choose like one day a week when I'll do like personal readings live, but not today. Okay. So then we have judgment. Yeah, I kind of feel like spirit is sort of seeing people like like they lack this life in them. They're just sort of living like ants. I mean, nothing against ants. They're probably like incredibly awesome, and I know nothing about it. But our view of ants is we can't really see their personalities and stuff because we're so much larger in scale. Okay. Anyway, so I feel like spirit's looking down on people like you guys are like dead people, like just not really fully living, and you need to wake up your spiritual side to like really be doing this correctly. You need to build something proper together as a community guided by like good, like not good intentions because the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but like, and if you're using your intuition, then you're kind of aware of like the balance of all things, and then kind of like where you fit in that and like what your duty is, and sometimes your duty is to step back and like let others build something, and then you quietly go like, okay, I accept this because it's good for the environment and stuff. Yeah, and then we have the Ace of Cups. So like spirit's always handing us this like new opportunity if we will just take it. But it involves us like filling our hearts like with the gold of like spiritual insight and like unconditional love for everything. Like it's like a totally different way of life than this kind of like, well, I've got my house, which like looks like their little coffin in this case. I got my like piece of land here, I'm good. And spirit's kind of like, no, like we need to reorganize this so Earth can survive. And like Earth wants to overflow with joy and be healthy and stuff, and California does. And it's like we need to live by this kind of what is that calling it? Whatever, like gold is something that like never gets rusty, and it glows even kind of like in darkness. Like when I go to Paris, sometimes it'll be like a really gray day, and they have certain monuments that have like a gold top to them, and they're just like, oh, like they're shining like the sun on a gray day. And it's just like the most amazing thing. And it's the same kind of thing where the purity of gold, like the purity of where this thought came from of like rebuilding, will create this like ever flowing kind of abundance and life. And it's a different model. It's like, how like people it's like in the 70s and 80s when I was a teenager, we didn't have stretch in our jeans. Like it was really painful. And and now it's like people wear like leggings, like they look like they're wearing almost nothing. And like for someone who's old like me, it's like how can you walk around? Like it's so exposed, but like whatever. But it's like it's a different world. Like people are like, I'm these leggings are comfortable, I'm wearing them. And but back, it's like things needed to change. Like we can't force no stretch jeans on Gen Zers like right now. They're just not gonna take like maybe some of them will wear them for just to be like throwback, whatever. But times have changed and it's like we need architecture. Architecture is built really solidly. It could last 200 years, but if it's all messed up and it's ruining the environment, we need to take those like no stretch jeans into like awesome leggings at a time. We need to change the architecture to suit the times. And that might mean getting some kind of payout for the house that you own in Los Angeles or wherever, because it's like it's not sustainable to live like that. Like but there's gonna be some people if people aren't like greedy a-holes, like if it's done with the purity of this intention of like, what is right, like what it intuitively would create peace and um that is like heaven sent, like then it will work, but sure there's like plenty of people who are in position of power who would love to like make a buck or whatever. But I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about like the ideal situation where things can be repaired and rebuilt so that we can have like green belts and all this stuff. Maybe it would be like a 20 to 25-year project where there'd be these like rotations of like certain neighborhoods being transformed in like one building at a time instead of just freaking everybody out. You know what I mean? So people can see like why green belts are good, or they can start appreciating it, going like, yeah, I'm behind this project now. Like there's a good way to go about it. Right? All right. And then we have where we go here? The Nine of Pentacles. Yeah, so there's gonna be some personal satisfaction in like creating this thing where you do feel like, oh, I do need to be connected with nature, and I do need to be connected with people so that I can create my abundance and do my work and have this kind of rich life. Um, it will satisfy people and it will require people to communicate a lot, over like how to get this done. I'm really into this reading a lot. Okay, then we have the Five of Swords. So this is kind of like, I feel like this is like the old way, kind of having their behinds like kicked. It's like your way isn't going to work anymore. And these are people who are like multi-billionaires who were kind of running the show, and they're being told like, no, like this isn't working. And I think there's some legal paths to, like, let's say there was a lawyer defending Earth. It's probably happened before, but like let's say they do it again successfully, and there's enough consensus of like people to not like squash that, and just to look at like the logic of like, how things are going. Like sometimes, it's like first you got like some people talking about the environment, and you have these other sort of bizarre celebrity people, yeah, who come up and they're like, oh, they're the face of the environment or whatever. It's like we're all the face of the environment. Like we all care about the earth. So like sometimes the message can hit you like wrong. It's like I'm not into that person, so like like I'm not gonna listen to them. But like this, So the message is still there wherever you look. It's like the earth needs help, the earth needs help, like, like that architecture is stupid, like whatever. Like it's that the answers are obvious. And so like these billionaires kind of are going to be out of the job in terms of running the show because like law and justice are going to like take away their swords, take away their power, and just go like, no, like we need to be good right now. Like, okay. And we have the Shaman of Swords. Yeah, so like people are gonna feel like this message, like let's say this message becomes like the dominant message, like we need to make these changes. Um, mostly urban places or suburban places. Obviously if you're living like in the country, you're not impacting the land super negatively, like fine. But there are probably places like in the Midwest where it's just farmland, 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 and then you don't have like these swaths of just untouched forest as much. Like some of that has to be worked into, I think. Like there used to be like, you used to, sorry, as at one time, a squirrel would have technically been able to go from tree to tree from the East Coast to the West Coast of the United States, given if they like stuck to the north. Maybe. um, anyhow, you can't do that now. So it's gonna be like a trip for people to wrap their minds around like this new message. It's like what? What like, you know? But fear and confusion are not a guiding light, you know. So just deal with it, I guess. Then we have the Nine of Pentacles again. Like we had this card already in another deck. So it's like this abundance, like being able to work with all the wonderful aspects of being human, including being part of the earth and nurturing that. Like, wouldn't it be cool to live in like downtown Los Angeles and be able to take your kids to like a nature park that isn't, it's nature built it, like not people, and just see what's what, like learn about mushrooms or learn about small animal habitats, and like maybe if we're able to like be above, like not interrupting them in some way, like some way in which we can like both observe and like not disturb, stuff like that. It's like it's all like cool. If you think of it as like a cool project, like it's fun to think about how to go about it. Okay. Then we have the Princess of Hearts. So I feel like whoever's gonna like really start this project is gonna seem like really awkward. Maybe they're like an older person, either with feminine energy or it's like a female. Um, and like initially the message will be seem small and kind of like handwritten on this note, and like nobody showed up for the press conference, but it's like on, like it's happening and it's moving forward, like, and you can like it's like don't shoot the messenger. It's not just one person coming up with this idea, but like someone has to get out there and say it, and like they might not feel adequately prepared or groomed for this job of being the spokesperson, motivator, initiator for this thing. But it starts somewhere. Like I've heard people say that like when Abraham Lincoln gave his Gettysburg address, obviously there was no like microphone or PA, and his voice was like really high pitched and you know like a bit awkward sounding, and like really anyone that was going to hear what he had to say had to be within like 20 feet of his horse or wherever he was standing, on a platform. And so it's the same kind of like this big movement will start with this kind of person who's maybe older and like people might think they're out of touch or unstylish or something like that, but like it's really about the message. Then we have the hangman. Yeah, so like people are gonna feel kind of tripped up by like the power of nature, like calling for this change, for California to call for this change. And people will feel like, like the hangman, where they're like, what? Like my whole world has turned upside down. But at the same time, with this new view, they're like face to face looking at nature closer up. And they're like, oh, right. Like we live on Earth. Then we have the Five of Hearts. So there's, I think, a lot of people who like put the value of their life in economics who will be like sad. But then there will be people who like aren't so materialistic, who are curious about the future and like what they can build and like their legacy and like, yeah, we made these changes now, and I'm curious what rose will bloom from this situation. And we have the Three of Wands. Yeah, I feel like some really top. This would be cool. I feel like the government could hire or like whoever would create this sort of master plan idea would actually hire intuitives. That's cool to help with some of these design aspects because it's like yeah, there's people who know how to build and organize, but like the big idea, the big picture stuff, like they will rely on like a variety of sources, including like top designers, but also intuitives and like people who know a lot about social structures and peace. I feel like the notion of control has shown itself to be like outdated and not working. And those people are going to, who are in power right now doing that, are going to be called out by really like educated people and intuitives who are just like let's we can't, it can't just be fast food restaurants and prison, like for profit prisons, like life, like we, that's not how we need. Everybody needs to feel a sense of peace and inclusion and some sort of basic health rights and education rights, opportunity, equal opportunity, like because like yeah, these older systems are not working and they don't mesh well with where we live, which is on Earth. All right, so Nine of Swords. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of people who like have been acting a certain way, who are used to communicating a certain manner, even like news outlets and whatever, that are like major networks and like stuff like that, that have been used to like feeling like they can control like people's ideas, or you know um they're kind of, it's kind of like giant dinosaurs wounded, who are just gonna go like at the last minute, just like like I wouldn't be surprised if like Fox or what, I don't know, whatever, those kind of networks and stuff, like if they just one day just closed, like shuttered their businesses, you know, like because they're just in this environment, like it's just not working. Like, and there's so many other ways of getting information now. It's like it just seems rusty and outdated and mean. These types of kind of control based um, ways of communicating. You know, charmingly out of date, but still persistent right now. That's why it's like this giant dinosaur that's just gonna like one day just fall over and be like, whoa. And then okay, then we have the Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, so this like card is like draped in oak leaves, and like the Oracle of Delphi used to write the messages she got like for the her clients on oak leaves. Um, so I kind of feel like persistence of these wise kind of messages will kind of drape this project of like creating this like newfangled architecture and way of life. And it'll kind of be like I live in Montreal, so they had like Expo 67. I was there like in my mom's tummy for Expo 67, and I was born in September after that. So it's like this vision of the future, you know, that was created, and like the subway system here was created around that time, and it's still really beautiful. So there's this sort of like attitude of like, here it is. Like it's a bit like silly and proud, like like it's dated, but it works. You know what I mean? Like you know how like there's architectural styles like brutalism, which this looks like kind of this sort of Frank Lloyd Wright sort of brutalist building here. Um, you know, obviously they're not going to use the most expensive materials to create whatever they're going to make, so it may have like elements of brutalism to them. Anyway, so like this restructuring of, let's say, California or other dense populated places that are taking over the natural landscape, there's going to be a certain style to the architecture that will seem like quaintly from that time, but whatever, it works. Like so, like a lot of what makes Montreal look cool is like the sort of like 70s arts and crafts, like 60s, you know, futuristic kind of brutalist stuff. So LA would have like a certain style. And, fortitude. All right. Sorry, I'm just getting this other message, like in terms of like Dubai and stuff like that. Like instead of them spreading out and just doing like suburban sprawl. Not that there's like a bunch of plants and stuff, like there's a desert, I guess. But still, like in terms of people getting along with people, instead of having like these private gated communities with no like parks in that village, or you know, like we really need to like still maintain that kind of village atmosphere, even from neighborhood to neighborhood. You know? I don't know, just my 2 cents. uh, okay, then we have fortitude, daughter of the flaming sword. It's our last card. Okay. Yeah, I feel like these like old billionaires that are used to like running the show here politically and business wise and whatever are just like super tired, and they're like, yeah, like I know it's not ideal, and so like strength is just gonna kick their butt and go like, you I'm gonna knock you out with this flaming chalice so you can have a nice little sleep. I'm not gonna kill you, but like you need to be quiet now while we organize something that we're passionate about, which is saving the earth. Which includes like saving us because we live on the earth and we can't keep having these like pandemics due to um ecology being messed with so much that like, you know, rodents of the land and the sky like take over and whatever, you know, spread disease or whatever. It's due to like an imbalance in the ecology that this kind of disease stuff springs up. So in order for us to survive and be happy and live happy day-to-day lives without masks and whatever, like we need to, you know, have this. I feel like this card embodies it the best, where we kind of see these like cool towers that have like greenery on them and whatever, and like earth is allowed to just go like breathe again, you know, and be beautiful. There's space for the earth to feel comfortable, and we don't need to send a bunch of people freaking to Mars to make that happen. We just need to like reorganize the cities and have like a good plan. Like here in Montreal, like they're creating like a green belt across the whole city, you know, and they had to like maybe move some properties or to make that happen, like buy out some neighborhoods if it's possible. Anyway, so I feel like California wants, if we don't play nice, then the environment's gonna like kick everybody's butt, and so I may as well start being good now and be open to your intuition so it can peacefully get you through this, you know, period of transformation of like making this happen, and also downloading like great ideas for how it can work out. So like maybe be cool to like think about that stuff. If you feel like you have good ideas, like write them down and, you know, publish them or something, and just like get the conversation going, so that it's like everyone's talking about it and finding like sustainable ways of living that are in the end more fun for us, more healthy for us. Like that'd be nice. It's possible, instead of just like blinders on, you know, burning down the road, like throwing garbage out the window. Like we can't keep doing that. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this reading about California, and I hope you have a good day. See you soon.